I'm just going to mention, me and Damien have both got new signs, as you'll be able to see here. Damien's has got his in his background, and we've got them here. Do you want to give a shout out to the company that did them, Damien? Because they were very good.
Thank you very much to 2020 Signs in Redditch, who has done these. Great guys, Luke and Bo. Honestly, their mum would be proud of them. Such nice boys.
Is that falling down, Damien?
It is, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
No need for that, is there?
It's like a Fawlty Towers set.
It's not good, is it? What's going on there?
It's like watching the Big
Bear
Breakfast.
with me, guys. I'll be back in a mo.
It's like watching the Big Breakfast with Mark Little or somebody from the 90s.
Damien, are you ready almost?
Not just yet, no. You just see my bottom at the minute.
Okay. I've seen it before.
Steady.
With and without clothes.
We were playing Red Dwarf then. Hi.
I'm gonna take a non-monetary bet that won't be up by the end of the recording.
There we go.
It will have
Please.
fallen
Just like
down.
magic that was. Tell you what.
Please fall onto his shoulder during
like
the show. Oh, that'd be dead funny.
Friends, that's...
It works for Clarkson, May and Hammond. We're not quite sure it works for Antrobus, Lee and Barstow. But they're doing it anyway. You're listening to the As Yet Unnamed Podcast.
Good evening, hello and welcome. It's not really evening though, is it? Should
What do you mean?
Should I start that
It's
again,
dark.
do you reckon? I know, but it's evening for us, but when people are listening, it could be any time. It should really just be hello. I'm going to do that bit again.
Oh,
It is every week.
every week. It's
take-
always the morning bit, isn't it?
It is. It's because I'm used to saying morning. Right, let's do that again.
You couldn't cope with a live radio show anymore, E.
Yes, I could cope with a live radio show because I'd know what time of day it was that people were listening, Darren.
Honestly, boys.
I went to see my mum this weekend.
I love your mum.
It's the first time I've seen her since lockdown. We went and had Sunday lunch, and we were talking about the podcast, and she went, "Damien's very funny. Darren's funny." He says, "You're just a bully, aren't you?" To me,
My wife says that.
I'm not a bully. I'm a ringmaster for this show. That's what I am.
Bless her. I do love your mum.
I love my mum as well. If she's watching, she won't be watching now because she can't be bothered. Anyway, let's carry on. Right, let's do this. Part 2, second take. Hello and welcome to the As Yet Unnamed Podcast. Thank you very much for downloading this episode of the show, or watching on YouTube if you are doing that as well. My name is Ian Barstow, and
My name is Damien Lee.
No, we're not doing that. We do
Oh, for
we do
goodness.
that
Do
in
you know
the,
what?
we do that in the second half.
It changes his mind every week.
No. This is the different music. So I introduce on this music. On the other bit, when we come back after the break, you go, done that.
Right.
Hang on, boys. And I'm Darren Antrobus. Just thought I'd get it in.
Thank you. If you are listening to the podcast on a podcast app, then don't forget to click on subscribe, and you'll get us every single week, 6 a.m. Monday mornings. We are out. So by the time you wake up, you can listen to us as I do when I take the dog for a walk in the morning. If you want to get in contact with us, then you can on Twitter at AsYetUnnamedPod. Visit the website, theasyetUnnamedPodcast.uk, and find us on Facebook as well. And if you are listening and you want to watch us do this live, then every Wednesday evening from 8 p.m, we are live on Facebook and YouTube with the show. So, coming up on today's show in particular, we'll be looking some quick things in the news. There's one particular big story we will be talking about. Unfortunately, we've got the mystery voice. It is not this week, or the mystery voice guesses so far are Mario Lopez and Justin Timberlake. It is neither of them. But we'll play that later. And our top 5 this week is the top 5 from the year 2000.
I'm concerned about this one.
Yeah, I was concerned as well. It was
Because
a
I got a feeling, because you two were, and still are, like brothers from Redditch back in the late 90s, growing up and enjoying yourself. So I'm guessing yours is going to be a bit like a Bill and Ted's Redditch adventure.
No, because it's about things that happened in the year 2000, not just in my life, in society in general. Do we not understand the rules of that, or
No, because I'll be honest, that's not what I've done.
It's not what I've done either.
I thought it was personal things.
Yes, it is for me, personal things.
Okay.
It's a bit awkward, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Because, we've got people listening. Much as I love our egos and things like that, would they really want to know about what we've done?
I didn't even make it past the first 5 minutes of the podcast, and the brand new sign has fallen down. They're wonderful signs, they just don't stick up. I think, Damien, that might be a losing battle. Perhaps we'll come back to that next week. I knew that was
please,
going to
that's
happen.
staying in. That's staying in.
Oh, that was staying in. I knew. I knew that was staying. So, yeah.
We should have took wages on that, Ian.
Wowzers.
That lasted a lot less than I thought it was going to, that's for certain. Right, let's crack on then, shall we? So, yesterday, as we record this, it is Wednesday the 23rd of September. About this time, 24 hours ago, there was a very important announcement from a certain person which affected all of us. So, I'm going to play you what happened about this time yesterday night as we record this.
Talked about this, but I don't know. The printer is upside down again, and I don't know. Well, maybe I. Oh, yes. Well, that works. Actually, I can be that fine. Right. Let's. Yeah. Good evening. Let's get straight to it. We are now approaching phase 46, which means that from Tuesday morning or Wednesday evening, depending on your height. We are saying, with regards to baking, if you must bake in a tent, bake in a tent, but please don't bake in a tent. And we are asking people to use common sense with regards to the distribution of hundreds and thousands. Now, I believe we have a question from the lady in the funky dress. Noel, yes.
Hello, Prime Minister.
Yes.
Just one quick question. Is it scone or scone?
Right. Well, I think I can hand over to the experts on this. Prue Whitty.
Scone.
Right. Professor Paul Hollywood.
Scone.
Right, well, I hope that clears things up for you. All it remains is for me to say, welcome to the Great British Bake Off.
Hey!
There we go.
I love that.
How amazing was that?
I loved it.
First of all, I am so sorry that I corpsed again, but I've forgotten how funny Matt Lucas actually is. I've missed him so much.
It was very good to see him back, and I have to say that was recorded. So they recorded the Great British Bake Off back in. Have you got? Is that Barb? Was that Barbara's hands, Damien, that we just saw in the background there? Was it? So yes.
So hot.
So the Great British Bake Off was recorded back in July, and that particular sketch was recorded back in July when they were filming the Great British Bake Off, and it just so perfectly timed in with the fact that we had the announcement from Boris Johnson yesterday. We had the address, and then it cut to Matt Lucas doing a very good impression on the start of Great British Bake Off, and the first episode was brilliant.
We were saying
funny.
when we watched that, the good thing about the Bake Off, I don't know whether you find this as well, it's just one of those programs that's so easy to watch. It's not offensive. It's not drama. It's just, you know what, you can just chill, watch it, stuff your face and dream a cake. And it's kind of everything we need right now. Bless them. Thanks, Barbara. We had, sorry. All right. No, you're paid by the hour. See you in a mo. Cheers. Mouth.
You're now gonna gently move your screen back, aren't you?
What do you mean? I don't know. Is that done, Barbara, or no? Okay, no, not done yet. Still working for that.
This is going so well. This is going so well.
No problem. That's fine.
So yeah, yesterday's episode was it was a great episode. We had the sabotage bit. We had the fairy cake. The upturned pineapple cake gate where she knocked the...
Yes.
And then she won that challenge.
I know.
That was like... Everyone on Twitter was like, that's just wrong. How dare she?
Do we miss Saskia?
Saskia? Sandy Toksvik?
That's the one.
Saskia.
I like Sandy Toksvik in it, but I think Matt Lucas is very good.
I always thought the Noel was the funny one out of Noel and Sandy Toksvik, but I think Matt is going to overtake Noel to be the funny one.
Yeah, I think so. And
yeah, I think you're right.
I like Noel. I'm not some of the stuff Noel Coward's done, not Noel Coward, Noel whatever his name is. I don't like his comedy shows; they're very far out there. But on Bake Off, I think he's very good.
He's so good.
Can we
good.
just talk about the wonderful busts that they had to make for their Showstopper challenge? The Freddie Mercury one. I'm not joking. The Freddie Mercury one was hilarious.
That looked like you. Seriously. Yeah.
It's just the way it was.
Fantastic.
Oh, it was so funny. And then they were saying, "Oh yeah, you can really tell that that's Louis Theroux." And I'm thinking,
I know.
you
what was that
can't.
about?
It doesn't look
Not
like him
at
at
all.
all. It just looks very weird. So yeah, that was, of course, the start of Great British Bake Off. And Darren did send me this. I'm not going to play you all of this because it does go on for a bit. But this is done by Darren's friend, and I'll just play you the first verse. It's quite good.
Control the virus, go to work. Sit in the sun, stay alert. Control the virus, go to work. Sit in the sun, stay alert. Control the virus, go to work. Sit in the sun, stay alert. We have a route and we have a plan. Work from home if you can.
This is a remix of Boris Johnson. The next bit's quite clever. You know that's going to peel your wallpaper off or you paint it off.
What do you mean? I don't know. I've always been by this side. It's always been here. I don't know what you mean. It's the live side in real time.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Babs.
Thank you, Barbara.
That was very well done.
Marvellous.
Great British Bake Off was back. We are now under extra lockdown because of COVID. We're not going to go too much into that this week, but it's likely that we're still going to be in this for at least the next 6 months. Even if nothing changes, what we've got now will carry on for probably 6 months' time. So we're going to be in this for a while. We're now working from home again. Damien, have you sent all of your staff back to work from home, or are you back in the office? Or?
No. We're still in the office. The ruling is, if you can work from your office, if you can work from home, work from home. If you can, if it's going to be something that you can't do from home, or it's going to be disruption, or there's a wording behind it. So no. I've spent a lot of money getting the office COVID secure. We've got screens, we've got hazards, etc. We've all had a conversation. So no, we are still from the office.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so it's all going to change. I would imagine it's going to change again. So it's by the time this goes out, it could be completely different. That is
by this goes out, we'd probably be,
under
told to
lockdown.
eat each other. Run for yourself, Rick Grimes, and eat. I would probably eat you, Darren. To be honest,
Would you?
yeah, you look tasty.
I don't taste of chocolate.
Oh, you don't?
Shake hard for 10 seconds.
Right, I found a very good clip, Damien. If this goes back to a couple of episodes ago when we found out that Damien every morning goes for his daily number 2 at work, and I found a clip that I think works quite well for you.
Boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time.
I like that one.
Oh, dearie me. This is what I love about this show, because obviously the fact that we've got no name for this podcast is because we talk absolute.
Yeah.
He's slow tonight.
He is.
Absolute, there's no beat.
Oh, sorry.
There's nothing.
What was I? Oh, okay, right. Sorry, carry on. Do that again.
Okay, right. Here we go. The reason that this show is called the As Yet Unnamed Podcast is because we talk absolute.
Yeah,
It didn't work.
That worked. That's fine. It will sound fine. I might have to.
Dearie me.
So a couple of weeks ago, probably episode number 4, I think. Darren tried some cricket protein shakes, which got us these some of my favourite clips. So there's this one.
Shake hard for 10 seconds.
And then there's this one. And then there's this extra one I found.
Oh,
That wasn't me.
that was a bit gargly, wasn't it? That one.
That was you, Darren.
Oh, dearie me. That was a definite gargler.
So yes, the company that sent down very kindly these cricket protein shakes, has won an award for the what have they been named? They have been named the winner of the high protein and sports nutrition category in the 2020 Nutrition Awards.
It's because the powder makes you throw everything up that was in your belly from the last few days that you lose a lot of weight instantly. So there you go.
So yeah, I'm not going to name the company because Darren really doesn't like them, even though he plugged them on the other station. So they won that. So if you do want some cricket flavoured protein shakes, then you can buy this award-winning one as well, and it can make you do this.
Oh, not when I'm drinking me brew.
That sounds like something from Alien or the monster in Stranger Things.
Atrocious, isn't it?
That is pretty bad.
This is the As Yet Unnamed Podcast with Ian Barstow, Damian Lee, and Darren Antrobus.
Ray Quinn, yes, who I've interviewed.
Oh, bless him.
Ray Quinn, that I've interviewed on my breakfast show. Did I mention that I do this for a living on
every week
radio?
Every week.
Breakfast show. Anyway, I interviewed him not long ago. He's got a brand new album out and it sounds really good, really soulful. And I'm sure there's a copy of that interview going to be going on the Unnamed Podcast page at some point.
There is. As you listen to this on Friday, we will have a bonus episode of Darren interviewing Ray Quinn, which will go out.
And a snippet of the song that he's just put out from the album that he just put out as well.
Which was a massive success because...
Yes, because he's now delivering for Hermes, or is it Hermes?
Well, it's certainly not Hermes, is it?
Right, I don't know what it is. How do you pronounce it?
To be honest, Ray Quinn is now working for Hermes. Hermes, petal.
Hermes, yeah.
Yeah, not Hermes, like germs, in all.
Hermes.
None of that. Hermes. Bless him, he's on £11 an hour, though. It's all right.
Yeah. That's really weird, that. That's like turn up for work and see Justin Timberlake clean out the back of your van, isn't it?
No, but you know what, though? Because times are difficult at the moment. Sorry, cleaning out the back of your what? Right.
I wouldn't say no to that, to be fair.
Because work is tough at the moment. Look, at the end of the day, he's doing something to get some money in. Fly just went in my eye there. It's all right. Just go in my eye, why don't you? You know, just fly around. I know, I'll just go into Damien's eye. Brilliant. Could have gone anywhere, couldn't you?
See, the thing is, though, it's quite a good... Because I interviewed Richard Hadfield when we were doing the interviews for the As Yet Unnamed podcast. So Richard Hadfield, winner of Britain's Got Talent with Calabro. What do you mean, who is that, Darren? Obviously, you've listened to all of the podcast episodes, haven't you?
Yeah.
You
I just forget.
You complete and utter anchor. So, yeah. So
he escalated quickly again.
I interviewed. I'm just living up to
leave a lot to the imagination. That word, did it? To be honest, get ready with it, Ian. Because to be honest, if you ended up saying something
do you know what I said? Can I tell you what I said? I said,
go on.
I said anchor. But if you put so if you do, you're a complete and utter anchor, then it sounds like you're doing the other word.
Right. Okay. So what if I called you so if I honestly just said, I think you're a bit of a...
It looks like you say Trojan horse, but...
He certainly knows about some Trojan horses, I tell you. How are you, Colin, downstairs? You stallion.
Is that TV thing?
There he is.
Yeah. Let's move on. So anyway, Richard Hadfield, who's now doing the coronavirus, a song a day keeps corona away. But he was saying that it's very much the case of you go on these massive shows, you get massive publicity, you get massive everything to start with, and then all of a sudden it all just dries up. So I'm not going to take the mickey out of somebody that's been on TV, who probably didn't make a lot of money out of being on X Factor because of the way the contracts work.
I agree.
Actually doing a normal job.
But then again, on the same subject, look at Jason Manford, a household stand-up comedian, household name, and he was delivering for whoever it was.
Tesco's, I think, wasn't it?
Sainsbury's or Iceland, I don't know.
Not Hermes?
No, not Hermes. Maybe Hermes. Or Herman's
You know
Hermes.
what though? It's been hard for everybody, and I think the fact that these guys aren't proud, they're supporting their family, and we're all doing that. At the end of the day, unless you're in a position where you're really fortunate. And
Will
got
you leave your
millions.
webcam alone, Damien? Stop moving around.
I'm not. It's Barbara. She's under the desk.
Yeah, I bet she is.
So no, I think. Look, I mean, what we've all seen the announcements last night. I don't want to get too political on our soapbox, but are you guys confused, or are you finding there is a bit more clarity now?
I'm not confused about what we need to do. I think it's a very, very difficult situation they're in, but I think it keeps changing all the time, and people don't know from one day to the other what might and might not be happening. But no, I think it's fairly clear now that it's pretty, without them saying we're in lockdown. If you don't need to go out, don't go out. If you can work from home, work from home. If you can't work from home, go to work. But if you can't go to work, then don't claim furlong because that's going to end soon. But also, you can't claim that. You can't claim benefits either because, it's confusing.
Yeah, and I think also, look, someone said this the other day, and it was really poignant. The fact is, back in the day, you've got to imagine there was bombs being dropped on this country. There was a world war where the whole country was rationing. There was air raids going off. Yes, it was a different time, and yes, I know we're all used to our civil liberty. We're used to our kind of nice things. But do you know what? This isn't going to be here forever. Most of the scientists have said as well that, do you know what? It's going to get a lesser and lesser strain. Do I think there'll be a vaccine? Yes, I do. Do I think we're going to come out of this? Yes, I do. And I think, if it's a year and a half pain of our lives, do you know what? There's been worse. That has happened in generation. I think it's just for us in our generation, we've never had anything like this. If the worst we're being asked to do is put a mask on, to save someone's life.
Just put a mask on.
Sorry.
If you're asked to wear a mask, put a mask on.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's about mitigation and mitigating the risk. At the end of the day, we're not being asked to go to war. We're not being forced out to, go and fight for the country. We're just being asked to be sensible and, have a bit of distance between us. So, I just think we all need to kind of work together.
Got a question for you two guys. We live in a world where we can say what we like virtually. I know we're on a podcast and we got to be careful what we say, but let me ask you the question. Do you think we're going to end up in a full lockdown again or not?
Yes.
What do you personally think we are?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes,
Damien?
I do.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Me, I haven't got a clue. I think Boris has been typically British and gone, do me a favour. Could you possibly
Has he gone
X, Y, and
Scouse?
Z?
Has he gone Scouse?
Oh, no. Is he from Brookside? Has he suddenly become Ray Quinn?
Do me a favour.
Lad, go outside. My goodness
That
me.
was very Irish, that was.
I'll tell you
But
what.
yeah, but he is being typically British, though, isn't he? Like, would you mind just, possibly doing X, Y, and Z? Because if you don't, I'll lock you down.
I just think the economy couldn't cope with another. Certainly, schools and places of work will continue.
It works for Clarkson, May and Hammond. We're not quite sure it works for Antrobus, Lee and Barstow, but they're doing it anyway. You're listening to the As Yet Unnamed Podcast.
At least I do these things. At least I actually put the effort in to find decent audio clips on stuff.
Excuse me, what did you just say? Can you...
What?
I send you audio, don't I?
Yeah, not good stuff, though. Right, what do we need to do next then, please, Damien and Darren? Anybody? Anybody? No? Okay.
Shall we do the voice?
Should we do the mystery voice then?
I think has he given up, Damien?
I don't know why I bother. Honestly, I don't know why I bother.
He's given up.
I put in all this effort, I do all the work for it, and what do you give back to me? Absolutely nothing.
Proper diva. Here we go.
Sweet a call, that's what you give to me. Right. Time for the mystery voice.
Ian, you know we're live, don't you?
I do know we're live, yes, it's fine.
Rein it in, mate, rein it in.
Oh dear, let's go for it. Seriously, it's the best show ever.
He already has. He's gone for it.
Oh dearie me. Should we do the mystery voice?
Yeah, shall we? Well, neither of you does.
Well, if you send it me, I can do it for you.
Yeah, I
can whip this together in minutes, mate.
Yeah,
minutes.
Whatever.
And the next song I'm going to play is Robbie Williams.
Straight in there with old stallion.
Yeah. This is, you're listening to. Oh, not off.
Okay, mate, because yeah. Antro bus. Yeah.
So welcome back to the As Yet Unnamed Podcast. It is time for this week's mystery voice. Last week's guesses were Mario Lopez and Justin Timberlake. It is neither of those. So I'm going to play the clip twice. You will then have 13 odd seconds to have a little think about it, try and come up with an idea and a guess, and then give me the mystery voice answer. Are we both ready for this week's week number 2 of the mystery voice?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready.
Here we go.
That was not as politically hot at the time. So I think...
So that is it. We will play that one more time.
That was not as politically hot at the time. So I think...
So, do you know who the mystery voice is? I need to get my remote control to put the flashy lights on. Are we ready for the tension music? Now, Darren said to me off air that he thinks he knows who this is. So, I am going to go to Damien first. I'm going to turn that flashing off before it gives me
Can we have a reminder of our last week's guesses, please?
Yes, I said them before, but it is Mario Lopez and Justin Timberlake you guessed last time. So, Damien, do you know who this is?
That was not as politically hot at the time. So I think...
Damien.
Justin Bieber.
Darren.
I was going to go for that exact name as well, Bieber.
You are both incorrect. It is not Justin Bieber.
Oh, my goodness me.
You are not far off on your guesses. I will say that. So, do you know who this is?
That was not as politically hot at the time. So I think...
So, there you go. That is this week's mystery voice. We will have that back again next week. If you want to have a guess, yes, Darren.
I think I know who it is.
You say that every week, and then you will get it right at one point. You're going to have to wait a week now.
Yeah, I'll write it down, actually. So,
if you think you know and you want to get involved, then drop us a message via the Facebook page or via the website, the As Yet Unnamed Podcast.uk. Use the contact us bit on there and let us know who you think is this week's mystery voice. I'll play it one more time.
That was not as politically hot at the time. So I think...
So there you go.
Damien, you're going down next week, mate.
Well, give me some advance notice and that's fine. I'm there, buddy.
That's it for the first half of the As Yet Unnamed Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. In the second half, we will be doing our top 5 from the year 2000. Both me and Darren thought this was our personal top 5 from the year 2000. Turns out it's the it's events from the year 2000. So we will see where that goes. We will be right back after this on the As Yet Unnamed Podcast.
Three men close to a midlife crisis. 3 microphones. 1 Zoom call. All lead to this. It's the As Yet Unnamed Podcast.
You could have just said then you're interviewing Mel C soon, but you know, that wouldn't have been...
No, I can't because it's been cancelled.
Oh, was it? Right, okay. Not a big enough profile, was it?
I think she was just, you know... Oh, is it Des Antrobus, so I can't cope with him? No, maybe, I don't know. It is going to be happening, but it's been cancelled at the moment anyway. So.
Oh, I like that.
So my phone book is still Kenny Thomas and Ray Quinn and Jake Quickenden, whatever his name is. Yeah.
Don't worry about it, because we've got Timmy Mallet coming up on this soon.
Yeah, you keep saying that. Welcome back to the second part of the As Yet Unnamed Podcast. My name is Ian Barstow.
Hello, my name's Damien Lee.
And my name is Des Antrobus.
Thank you very much for listening to the As Yet Unnamed podcast. Don't forget, if you want to subscribe, do so on the podcast app that you're listening to this on. Leave us a review and a comment as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to click on subscribe, like, comment and share and all the usual stuff that people ask you to do. So in the second half, we are going to do our top 5 every week. This is probably the most difficult top 5 we've had so far, if I'm honest with you. So it was the year 2000. Both me and Darren thought this was personal choices of the year 2000, which was really difficult for me because I can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone what I was doing in the year 2000. But I think we may have slightly misgot the idea of what it was. Is that right, Damien?
Yeah, so the reason this came up and the reason that we opened this envelope was we're in the year 2020 and it's a year that I think we all want to forget. Horrible year. Now, the year 2000 was the start of this great new decade, millennium. It was, a lot of pump and sort of it's going to be great, it's going to be this and all of that. So I was interested to know what were the highlights of 2020 years ago within that year, meaning we're in the world of showbiz. So what our fellow presenters have done on the show is they've done it about them. So what we're about to go through is, number 5 is when I had a poo and it was a nice toilet.
So I'll tell you what, Ian, shall we do Damien's first then? To see how it should sound.
Angry again, Ian.
Yes, I think we should do Damien's first if he's ready, because last week he wasn't.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think it's a bit of a shame, really. So give me a clue of what's coming up in the top 5 from you guys, because, I mean, obviously we do this to entertain. The entertainment is going to be, so are you, Darren?
To be fair,
it's Ian here.
Two of mine are personal.
Right.
One of them is it's not one. 2 of them are personal, and then 3 of them are general things.
General things.
Yes.
Right.
Same, mostly personal, but from that year. Anyway, show us what we should have done, Damien.
Okay, so the first number 5. If you all remember, apparently there was going to be global chaos. Planes were going to fall out the sky. There was going to be missiles that were fired by accident. There was going to be dates on computers that went wrong. There was going to be nuclear stations that blew up because of Y2K. I'm not talking about Chris Jericho, for those people who like wrestling. This was a thing and a computer bug that was called the Millennium Bug. And it was on the countdown to it. Everyone was kind of thinking, good, is my calculator going to go weird? And basically it got to midnight and nothing happened.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you want to know why nothing happened?
Tell me.
Because it was such a big thing before and companies spent so much money on it.
Right.
That most companies managed to change the software. It was all software based. It was all, I think it was 32-bit based software or 16-bit based software. That meant that in the year 2000, the clock would reset itself back and would cause loads of issues. So the reason that it didn't really be a massive thing is because of the fact that companies spent millions of dollars on getting it right. And if you were working in IT, it was one of the best days to work on IT because they were paying people in support desks stupid amount of money to go and sit and not actually do any work.
For something that never happened. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is mad.
And to think, when you say it, the year 2000, it doesn't, because it's still part of the 2000s, you don't...
Oh, it was last year, that's what it was. It wasn't that long ago. It was only last year.
It's 20 years.
No,
Where's that gone?
It wasn't 20 years ago, don't be silly. Never.
Ian, we were together.
Well, we will. I'll get onto that later.
So the Millennium Bug then, if they didn't reset everything and sort the software out, would all of that actually have happened?
Probably not as bad as if anyone remembers, there was a BBC docudrama they did at the latter half of 99 where they sort of predicted what could happen and planes falling out the sky and everything going wrong. Probably wouldn't have been that bad, but there probably would have been more disruption than if they hadn't spent all the money. And it was basically because they were using software that they didn't think would still be around in the year 2000. And there is another similar bug going around, and I think it's in 2032 or something like that, where the clocks reset themselves again because of the architecture.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is.
And we're all kind of, as well, if you watch Back to the Future, or one of those other films that was, the year 2000 was always meant to be flying cars and, all different sort of hoverboards in it. And it's crazy, realistically. But if you think about it as well, from when we were younger, how far have things come on? You don't go to the bottom of your road to make a phone call on the call box.
Massively, because one of the things I was looking at when I was looking for stuff for this top 5 was what was the tech around at the time, and it came up with mobile phones. So the top selling mobile phone was the Nokia 3310, and then the 5210. Am I ruining anyone's top 5 here with what I'm saying?
No. People were playing Snake a lot. If you remember Snake,
massive Snake. The Motorola Razr phone was one of the biggest phones. The flip phone was one of the biggest phones. I hated that phone. It was an absolute pile of rubbish. But that's where we've come. So we've come from really basic plain Snake to a phone now that you can literally do whatever you want on it, and is more powerful than a lot of PCs that people have. So we've moved on massively since the year 2000.
When you put it into phone context, I couldn't live without my iPhone. I couldn't live with all the apps that are on there. But go back 20 years and that wouldn't have happened on your phone.
No, it wouldn't.
Is that because you watch Pornhub?
No.
Others available, to be honest. Not just Pornhub.
I could name a few.
You're into that type of thing. All right. So that was that, which was really interesting. Nothing happened, and it was just the end of that. So, but it was quite interesting. This is another one as well, and this is interesting. She was a lady that was a household name in the 80s, and the 90s she kind of disappeared. No one heard from her. But in the 2000s, she cemented her status as a decade-spanning pop icon. It saw her have a massive resurgence. She came back with massive pomp. She had the brilliant songs of With Her Hot Pants, spinning around.
Yeah.
And she would release the biggest chart smash since Especially For You, Can't Get You Out of My Mind. In the year 2000, we saw the return of Kylie Minogue.
Sorry, can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
Can't Get You Out of My Head, I think you'll find, not Can't Get You Out of My Mind.
Okay, coming up to Pop Pickers, we got more from the Potato Head.
Yeah, I set that up for you, but I'm just correcting you. I'm just correcting you.
You can.
So yeah, she was obviously she is a massive icon in the LGBTQ community. She is loved by gay men around the world and straight men and all that sort of stuff. But she's a very big icon in the LGBT world. Because of what she stands for,
and a cracking pair of legs.
She has got an amazing pair of legs, and
she's tiny, isn't she? She's like there's someone that's got these cracking pair of legs.
4'2"
She's like
or
5 foot.
Yeah,
how big?
4'2".
Sorry, is she a borrower?
She's Hobbit. But me and the wife actually Googled her age because I wonder how old she is because she looks really good for age. Isn't she 50 something now?
55, I think she is.
Early 50s, I think. First half of the 50s.
See, some people just can't imagine their age. It's like Ian is 19. You'd never think it.
I mean, if only, mate. I would do things.
Yeah, you've got the temper like somebody through puberty. Anyway.
So, moving on. This is a good one. You'll both like this one. So I'm going to give you a bit of a clue now, okay? It featured a pre-fame
52.
Ben Fogle.
She's 52.
She's 52. Right, okay. Anyway, get with the program. So this program first started in 2000. Featured a pre-fame Ben Fogle. It was hugely popular when it premiered in the USA. It had a wonderful villain who basically wrote things down.
Absolute arse.
All right, don't be like that. I mean, his name was Nasty Nick. Jeez. And Craig Phillips ended up winning the $75,000 prize fund. And he donated it all to a friend, Joanna Harris, who had Down syndrome at the time. And that was for a heart and lung transplant. In the year 2000, 20 years ago, it was the very, very first season of Big Brother.
I can't believe you put that in because you know how much I like Big Brother and you've just ruined my top 5 now. Thank you.
Well, sometimes you just got to go first. You just got to throw it out there.
Yeah, it was 20 years ago last month, I think it was. 20 years ago last month, the first ever episode of Big Brother came out.
I remember watching this because I used to get him from doing discos at night and doing other things I was doing as well in that year, and finding myself falling asleep in my bedroom while that was actually on, and they were all sleeping as well. And I thought, why am I doing this?
It was weird, wasn't it? When they used to have the what was it, Ian? It was on E4, and you just heard
the birds and the birds. Basically, when they were either swearing before the watershed or talking about people on the outside world that they couldn't talk about. But Big Brother revolutionised reality TV. Without Big Brother, you probably wouldn't have had all of the other types of reality. So I'm a Celebrity, Made in Chelsea, all those different types of reality TV shows that have been going around. And it is the best type of reality TV when it's done properly. Series 1 is one of my favourites. The Nasty Nick stuff. I remember driving home from work listening to Chris Mills on Radio 1 when he had BB Aled. And it was breaking news, the fact that Nick Bateman, Nasty Nick, had been kicked out of the Big Brother house. And it was a proper one of those, and I still remember it now, it's like one of those, what? He's been kicked out, why? And then waiting for 2 days to watch it, because it was every other day for the highlights. Nasty Nick was a brilliant character. Craig Phillips was a brilliant character. If you want to watch it, I don't know if it's still on all 4, but E4 did a special of Best of Big Brother. And they put out loads of old episodes, and they played that episode of Nasty Nick, and it is so tame compared to what we've watched before. Nothing really happens. It's all very civilized. A couple of years later, it would have been a complete and utter shouting match and everything else. But yeah, I love Big Brother, and I've watched every single episode.
So why did it fall off a cliff, the figures, then? Or why did it all fall out of favour? What happened? Because
it was 20 years old. The cast put into the Big Brother house were very fame hungry. So the first ever series was probably the only time that people went in not knowing what to expect at all. Obviously, the second series, you had Brian Dowling, who was a fantastic winner. You've had people like Nadia. So she was the transsexual woman. So it broke loads of barriers. You had Kinga. If I mention that name to anyone that's a proper fan of Big Brother, you have Kinga, who did stuff with wine bottles that just should never be shown on TV. You had Fight Night. You had Jay Goody. God bless her. All of that sort of stuff. I love Big Brother. It was. I mean, I'm the same as you, Ian, and I always used to love launch night because you'd always be excited who was going in. Davina McCall did it absolutely fantastic. You'd be, who's going in? And you'd always think, what an absolute freak. Or you'd think, I love them straight away. And then normally the first impression would be, I hate them. And then within about 2 weeks, you'd be, they're brilliant. Yeah, there was one episode when they all had makeup on and they just kicked off completely. And it was great view. And I remember in the first series, I was visiting my friend in university and he had his internet on. And because it was dial-up then, you really struggled to watch the live feed. But that program over the years, but as you said, I think there was a massive controversy that we won't go into that just went so political. The longer it went on, you knew the castmates that would go in or the housemates would try and replicate someone that had already been in there before. And that was kind of the sad thing about it. I was sad when it ended. I think Rylan is just fantastic as a presenter. He's amazing. Emma Willis I like, but it was for me. Big Brother was always Big Brother versus Davina calling. That was my era. It will be back. It will be back on at some point in the near future. In the next not Channel 5 though. No, Channel. I think Channel 4 will probably. I think Channel 4 are interested in doing it again in perhaps a different type of way. But it's been going. It is a worldwide. It is in 50 odd countries. It's been going for years. It's a massive franchise and it is loved by people all over the world. And yeah, good choice. That was my number 4 as well. So number 3, please, Damien. Good. Okay, so number 3 is a bit out there. So if people are just joining, we're just talking about at the moment our top 5 highlights from the year 2000, because it's been a bit of a cruddy year this year. We've decided to go back in time 20 years ago and see what our favourite bits are from the year 2000.
This was a bit of a one that you probably wouldn't put me down as having, but I'm a massive fan of his. It was the main headline set at Glastonbury in 2000, and it was actually by David Bowie. Now, it was under that much of a kind of, I don't want people who aren't there to watch it. And it was a big kind of, what happened then? Who dropped one? Someone dropped one.
I dropped my pen again, sorry.
Did you drop your pen or did you drop one?
No, I dropped my pen.
Wowzers. So he basically turned around to the BBC and said that he didn't want people to see the footage. They could only show half an hour. And it became that of sort of folklore. And it also became his Glasgow Swan song. It actually turned out to be his last in the end, which was sad. But it was in an air of mystery. The BBC was only able to broadcast half an hour of it. And after weeks of wrangling, cajoling, even pleading, he still turned around and said, "You're only having half an hour." And that was the power of Bowie, who I think is an absolutely amazing artist. One of my faves. Darren, I think you're a bit of a Bowie fan as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I like his 80s stuff, his disco-y funky.
Of course you
stuff.
do. Of course you do.
I don't like his psychedelic weirdo stuff, no.
Did any of you watch the David Bowie in full at Glastonbury when Glastonbury was meant to be on this year and they showed highlights from the past years?
Yeah, I just got chills. Watered up, actually.
Yeah, he's... but I think of David Bowie, and it just reminds me of yesterday's bust of David Bowie in Great British Bake Off, which looked nothing like him. It was terrible.
Absolutely nothing like him.
It was really
Absolutely
bad.
Nothing.
Yeah, good choice, Damien. Number 2, please.
Thank you. So, I mean, can we have a bit of a hint on what yours are going to be, or
no,
not at
carry
all?
on. No. Carry on.
Right. Number 2 is something that was meant to be huge, meant to be. You had to see it. You had to go round it. Because do you know what? If you didn't see it, you missed out. It was what the Millennium was all about. Millennium Dome.
The biggest waste of money for a celebration. Was it something like 500 million or
was
something?
that? Do you know what? It was hyped to be this massive thing. They had a exhibition of a body in there. They had different touch areas, and yeah, it was just like the think tank in Birmingham, but on a massive scale, and an absolute waste of money. And
it only lasted a year before it was closed, and then it was turned into the O2 Arena, which is obviously it is now. It's the O2 Arena in London. It has massive concerts, but yeah, it was a complete. It was one of those ones that everyone felt like the year 2000 was meant to be such a massive thing. It's a brand new millennium. Yeah, it's going to be a massive party. And then it was like, yeah, it's all a damn squid. The whole loads of it was. It's like the thing down the Thames, the fireworks was meant to be a river of fire. And it was like one firework going off every 100 meters or something.
And this brings me on to my number 1. So my number 1 isn't exactly an event. It's the whole premise of the year 2000. I have never in my life known a ticket for New Year's Eve to be as expensive as that particular night. Now, I won't go into this too much because I know Ian's going to elaborate more on this. However, it turned out to be you can get a ticket for anywhere. If they did, they were like £200 because for some reason it was going to be a different party. It's still the new year. You still have the ball drop. You still have the 10, 9, 8, 7 and all of that jibber jabber. But it happened to be the most expensive anticlimax that you could ever get.
As a gigging DJ, 1999 and that New Year's Eve night for 2000, there were gigging DJs going out for £1,000 per night. £1,000 per gig.
I'd imagine it's probably one of your better nights, wasn't it? I would imagine. Were you gigging? Were you DJing at that time? You would have been, wouldn't you? Year 2000, you would have been out doing your DJ.
I'll say no more, but it is featured in my top 5.
Okay, excellent. Is that a microwave?
No, you have to bear with me because my child's being fed. The milk's being done. Bless her, Barbara. Well, I'm not married to Barbara. That's wrong, isn't it? She's the producer. That's my wife. Barbara's in with Barbara giving her some milk.
Barbara's giving her what? Bitty.
Is your
Do you know what? I'm just looking over now, and my son is actually awake. He's only 4 months old. He's just looking at me.
Is your baby son named Barbara?
His name's not Barbara. Steady on. He's giving me this little tiny look with his little tiny head. So yeah, that was my the last bit for me. It was just a complete anticlimax. And there you go. That was my top 5 for my experiences of the year 2000.
So I will go down, Darren, if you don't mind, because mine mine carries on quite nicely. My number 5 in my top 5 is actually Millennium Day itself. So I couldn't include New Year's Eve, but I'm going to include New Year's Day. Nice. And it is from 1 second past midnight on that New Year's Day when both me and Damien, and I can't remember who else we were with, went to the good old massive party place, world famous for its parties, absolutely astonishingly good at doing parties. And for anyone that's listening in Redditch, you will know this place. It is one of the best places in the world. It was the Washford Mill.
Yeah, I do know the place.
Which is now a Miller and Carter. And
is it still the same though?
How did this come to be?
I have no idea. I am not a lover of New Year's Eve. I don't. Can't stand it.
Really
don't like.
Hate New Year.
Yeah, I really don't like New Year's Eve at all.
Yeah.
And I think it was more of a case of it was very last minute, and we both thought we really need to go somewhere because this is like massive thing. It's going to be so good. And I think that was probably the only place we could get tickets for. Did we go with someone else? I can't honestly remember.
My mother was there. I think Rose was there, who I was dating at the time.
Oh my God, Rose. Rose, yes.
Yeah. I think James may have been there. Was James there?
I
think James was there.
No, I don't think he was.
I just seem to remember you were sat in the corner a lot.
I hated it.
Hated every minute of it.
Absolutely. I'm not a person that I don't go out very often. I'm not a person that enjoys a massive night out. I don't enjoy drinking that much. But I hate New Year's, and Millennium was probably. It was just. I was so glad to. I think I went home about 1 o'clock in the morning.
We had a hug though, didn't we?
We did have a hug on the countdown, but yeah. I absolutely hate it. So that was my number. That was my 5th memory of New Year's Day. I just really didn't like it at all. So yeah, that was that one, and it was a good night, Damien, wasn't it? It was well worth the. How much was it? 25 quid a ticket.
No, I think it was 50 quid.
50 quid a ticket.
50 quid a ticket.
50 quid a ticket. And do you know what? The buffet, I'm sure we had a really cold garlic mushroom and maybe an onion ring. And I'm sure someone chucked my onion ring at my head. Never forget it.
So hang on a minute. 50 quid a ticket to go to a local pub, not a bar, but a pub that's got a wheel in it and a river going through the middle of it, and a mobile disco
that you can walk into at any other time of the year without paying a single penny.
Brilliant place. 50 quid for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Great.
It was a proper letdown. So my number 4 was Big Brother, and the fact that it launched. That was my number 4. So my number 3 is the music of that year. Was pretty much my music. So
it's fantastic.
It's pretty much so
really good.
I've got the top
really
20 selling songs of the year 2000, and they were so there's people like Artful Dodger featuring Craig David, Darude and Sandstorm, nice.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey and Westlife, yeah, whatever. Craig David again with 7 Days, that anthem of a song.
He was everywhere in the year 2000. That man was everywhere.
Every song off that album, I'm sure, was a number 1, and the album was called Born to Do It. Do you remember it?
No.
Okay.
I only really remember that one song from him. The Bloodhound Gang, Madonna, Britney Spears, Ronan Keating, Spiller, Groove Jet. Oh my God, I love that.
That was a TV theme, I think.
Was that with
Sophie Ellis Bextor?
No, it wasn't Groove Jet and Spiller. Wasn't that with what's her name? Posh Spice.
No, Sophie Ellis Bextor.
Yeah, that was Sophie Ellis Bextor.
Oh,
Groove
sorry.
Jet. Yeah,
right,
okay. Mojo, Lady, Hear Me Tonight. Again,
I love that.
Craig David was number 10. Westlife, I Have a Dream, Seasons in the Sun. I'm not going to deny I quite like both of those songs. Robbie Williams and Rock DJ, which is just a really good
The video
track.
for that was banned, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Karen stripped off himself.
Yes,
weird.
They cut it a lot for TV.
Yeah.
So let's do the top 7. At number 7 is S Club 7 and Reach. It's a fantastic song. I don't care what anyone says. Number 6 was Fragma and Tocca's Miracle. Oh my God, I love that so much. All Saints and Pure Shores.
Oh, what music?
Gabrielle and Rise. The Real Slim Shady from Eminem. No, that one track. I'm not a great fan of Eminem, but that one track is very good. Sonic, It Feels So Good, which was in my top 5 last week, and then the number one song, which perhaps says something about the taste, was the Baha Men, Who Let the Dogs Out. That was the biggest selling song of that choice, apart from that one. But the music of the year 2000 was pretty much that's my era of music, and I would probably say all of those songs I will listen to and go, oh, that's a track.
Oh yeah, it was renowned, and that's a great choice. It was renowned for its music, and what an era! What an era!
That will lead me on to my number one, but my number 2 is films. Again, loads of really good films out. But my pick of a film from the year 2000 is Almost Famous. Does anyone remember this film? And if you haven't, I highly recommend you watch it.
No, I've never seen that, actually. No.
So I think it's on Amazon Prime or Netflix. It's on one of them. It is about a high school boy who is writing for the Rolling Stones. And it's basically a road trip movie of this 15-year-old boy going out with a rock band and following them around and doing what rock bands do, sex, drugs and rock and roll. But it is an absolutely fantastic film. I highly recommend you watch it. It's just really good. It's one of my favourite films. Others from that year include Memento, which is the odd film with the backwards
film. Amazing film.
One I haven't watched for a long time and probably need to watch again.
Remind me, who's that got in?
I can't remember. Guy Pearce. There we go.
Brilliant film.
Guy Pearce.
Fantastic film.
And also X-Men. The very first X-Men was out in that year, and Requiem for a Dream, which is another quality film. So films are very good of that time. And my number one, and I think I am right in my years. I think I have got this about right. Damien, you may be able to correct me, and if it is wrong, I apologise. But it was me starting at Radio Pulse.
No, it was. You're right. It was.
I was pretty certain that started in the year 2000. And basically, my love of music was never a massive thing. And then we did Radio Pulse. And then my love of radio and my love of broadcasting was proper. And it is pretty much, it's followed me throughout my whole of my life from that point onwards. I would never think of doing a radio show. Damien Lee invited me to come and join. Radio Pulse, Hospital Radio Pulse as it was at the time. So that started me off, and then 11 years later, when the station closed down, I'd been with it throughout the whole time. It was an amazing journey, and it started me on my love of broadcasting, which I took a bit of a break from, and now we're back with a podcast. So there you go.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great platform. It was a great place to work. I mean, I joined it when I was really young. I was like 13, and it was Radio Woodrow. Then it changed to Radio Alex. And for anybody that has that, it's hospital radio, do you know what? It was a great experience for confidence as well. And especially for yourself, Ian, who was quite shy and quite, with me, I knew the real Ian. But when he came out of his shell somewhat on the show, and we started making him into this character, I think we really saw the Ian that we have today. So, I mean, I thank you for making you who you are today.
Oh,
you're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I do thank you. And do you know what I liked about the station? I hated some of it. I hated the politics of it. Some of the politics was atrocious.
Or me throwing a CD at your head.
You throwing a CD at my head, me walking out the studio on a Sunday evening during our show, live on air. Yes, I do remember that, with my little CD case, which I used to take around everywhere with me. But what I did like is all three of us that are on this podcast now. So if you're watching us live on Facebook, or if you're listening to this, all three of us met through Hospital Radio. Without that, well, I knew Damien because I worked with him, but Darren we wouldn't have met probably. I'm not sure if we would have met, but we've all met through Hospital Radio. But I like the fact that it was such an open place for people to come and broadcast. Because I when I was the station manager, I didn't care who you were. If you could do a show, I was happy to put you on. If you weren't brilliant at doing a show, you could still go and do a show. We had people like Alan Caddock, who did a show, and I remember telling him, and he was the happiest person in the world because I told him he got his own show. We got people that were straight, gay, transsexual, male, female, old, young, everything. Everybody mixed in, and it was a really good place for people to just come and have a bit of fun.
It was. Bravo. It was a good time as well.
And then obviously we had all the stuff about being in the station till gone midnight trying to fix things. But anyway.
Indeed, yeah.
The good and the bad. So there you go. That was my top 5. Darren.
Okay, so mine are a bit more personal than Ian's are, and a whole lot more personal than Damien did. So these are the top 5 things that happened to me and these are a big clue, my career in 2000. So don't forget, I turned 20 in the year 2000.
Damien!
I'm joking. I'm looking forward to this, seriously.
Right,
because
so
let's be honest, Darren, it's not on point, is it?
No.
This whole thing was about what are your top highlights of the year 2000.
So
Where you got it slightly wrong is what were your top highlights? Well, that's fine. I can't wait.
They're my top highlights.
I'm looking forward to it.
So at number 5, I was living the dream. I was driving the most expensive car that I could afford in the year 2000. I passed my 28, and I'm pretty sure I still got the same car, but it was in this year that I decided to get rid of the car, right? I was driving a Sierra Cosworth car, right? I was a proper... I classed myself as a boy racer, but I didn't do all the boy racing stuff.
Did you have the fairy dice in the window?
I did. I had a sunroof that you had to wind like that to get it.
Oh, back in the day.
Yeah. And the only reason why I could afford it is because my dad said that he would pay the insurance for me on it, and the insurance was way more than the car was worth anyway. But yeah, and I, you know, went a lot of places in that car. It was a great car. It was white. Actually.
Really? Did you go a lot of places in that car?
I did. Yeah.
With a lot of people in that car.
It was. Yeah, I had a great sound system in that car as well.
You did.
Yeah, the tapes.
Did it have a subwoofer?
It was 2000, but I still had a tape player in the car.
I'm gonna. So I was driving in the year 2000. I was probably driving my Golf.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was. I always wanted. I think I've talked about this before. I would still have a Golf GTI Mark II 16 valve lowered sports pack black car. If I could afford to buy one now, I would go and buy one. But I was driving a Golf. I was driving a Golf 1.3 Mark II. And I was very much like you. It was not a performance car at all. It was as slow as a tank, but I had the decent speakers in there. I had the decent stereo in there.
But I believe that the Cosworths were very much performance cars.
Oh, they were, definitely.
They were, and that's why they were so expensive.
Great car.
To ensure. Anyway, that was my number 5. So it was
good number 5. That was.
Did you used to go to the McDonald's car parks and sit in the McDonald's car parks with your car? Were you that type of person?
So in the year 2000, I was still living in Stoke-on-Trent, where I was born and bred, and we have an area around here called Festival Park, and it's locally it's called Fezzy Park, right? And all the teenagers, I think they still do it now. All the teenagers, as soon as they pass the test, they go and buy expensive Novas or whatever it is these days. I don't know, and they still pop the hood and
Nova,
whatever they have nowadays. I don't know.
Do you know a Nova is one of the best cars. If you ever wanted to have a car that you could just absolutely thrash around and just rev the engine, the Nova. My friend Karen used to have a Nova 1.1, and it just used to go on forever.
I don't know what it is. Maybe nowadays it's still Fiestas. I don't know what it is, Ford Fiestas, but they're all the sports cars with the spoilers on the back and they have the sound systems in the boot. And all the girls used to go with the boyfriends to Fezzy Park just to hear the cars, see them race around the roundabout. I think they put a stop to it actually because it got quite dangerous, but they may still do it. I don't know. Anyway, but so it's similar to the Redditch thing in the McDonald's car park.
See, cars are. I think probably around that time. Was Fast and the Furious out around that time? Or was that a bit later? No, it's a bit later?
I'm not sure. I don't know. You have to look at that.
But it was about that time. I think I started to watch Top Gear and I started to get interested in cars. And you'll be driving along, and even now you sort of drive along, you say, I want that car from that year. It's yeah, good. Yeah. I agree. Cars are good.
Good choice, that. Like that.
Yeah. So my number 4 from that year was a really personal one because there was a girl at school that was the hottest girl at school, and she was in the year above me, and we were friends anyway through school. So then she left the year before I did, so this is like going back to 1996. So then we stayed friends, blah blah blah, all the way through. She went to college. I didn't go to college. I went into DJing, bars, clubs, weddings, and dip my toe locally into radio as well.
Sure, you did.
Trent. And then out of the blue, we met each other in a bar, and we started dating in 2000 just for a couple of weeks because I got my first job working away, which is my number 3. But anyway, going back to my number 4, we had a date at a cinema called the ABC Cinema in our local town, Hanley, and the funniest film of the year that we watched was Jim Carrey, Me, Myself, and I. Or Irene. Me, Myself, and Irene. Yeah. That's the one where he's got he's got schizophrenia.
I'll be honest, I don't know that. I don't know
that one.
Jim Carrey, Me, Myself, and Irene.
No.
That
doesn't ring a bell.
I don't know that one.
Very, very funny.
Were you on the back row of the cinema?
No. That's why I think the date didn't go very far anyway.
Oh dear.
And we're still friends now on Facebook anyway, but there we are. Yeah, that was a memory.
Look
of
at what
from
she's missed out on,
2000.
Darren. Look at what she's missed out on.
Yeah, right. Okay, so number 3 is partly to do with that, is because that summer I got my first job working away as a DJ.
Nice.
And I would love to tell you that it was Magaluf, BCM, doing Radio 1, Mallorca, all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't. I left home to go and get my first job as a holiday camp on-site DJ in Aberystwyth.
Nice. Oh, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Did you have the coat as well, did you? Or
we had green coats, I think we had.
So we
weren't officially a red or blue coat. No.
It wasn't a Butlins then.
I had hair. I did have hair.
Did you have curtains?
No, in 2000 it was the messy mullet. Do you remember the messy mullet on the guys'
I do remember the messy mullet, yeah. Can we have a picture of the messy mullet next week?
I need to look for some.
I think if we could have an item of the show next week, I know it's more visual, but if we could maybe have an item, Ian, where we've got a very sort of teenage Damien, teenage Darren, and teenage Ian, that'd be great.
I've got a great picture to show you about me in my teenage years. My wife is going to go mad with me for showing it. Oh, she's actually just gone, oh, for God's sake. Yeah, I'll get you that for next week. So that was my first thing, my number 3. Working away from home. The first time living away from home as well, which was an experience.
How old were you in 2000, Darren?
20.
20. So prime of your life.
Sorry?
Prime of your life in a holiday place, in a holiday camp.
Yeah,
with people coming back and forth, and people stopping for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Were you a wild kid? Were you a wild 20-year-old?
I got sacked for antics.
Antics with guests.
Wow,
I did. Yeah. I was told the reason why they sacked me, actually, which is a true story. They said, the holiday camp manager said, we're going to have to let you go because you seem to be more interested in getting your score up than...
I've got to say, I've never heard that.
Another notch on the bedpost.
I've seen a completely different side to you now.
Yeah.
Blimey. What do you mean? I'll come out every night to play me songs. What you on about? Getting me score up, Barbara.
And the way they kicked me off site was after one night of the show, one night in the holiday camp show bar. They took all my CDs and my sound system and my lighting rig that I added to the club as well, and unconnected it for me and just plonked me outside the back doors and gone, right, you're finished. I'm like,
that, right, my friend, cheers. That is genius. That is genius. From knowing you, I would never have put you down as a little bit of a Casanova. Hi. So, sorry, what would you like? Okay, no problem.
To be fair, we need to do an after hours podcast where we talk about Damien's past escapades. We
certainly do not.
Yeah, we don't think we do.
My goodness me. I'm a professional business owner now.
Upstanding citizen, are you, Darren?
But don't forget, I looked at the part. So I had the messy mullet, I had the Beppe DeMarco beard, the little tiny goatee beard, some sideburns as well.
And you didn't look like a potato head then, did you?
And I was very slim. I must have been about 9 or 10 stone back then. You know,
you were a Greek god.
I was, and I used to wear stuff that Beppe Di Marco would have wore on EastEnders on telly. You know, the fitted trouser suits and all that kind of. Yeah,
I feel we need to see this. I feel we need to see a photo next week.
I mean, now I look something as I look like Demis Roussos now. Or
don't put yourself down. It'll be interesting to see it next week. It would. What's your next one?
Right. So number 2 was after I got binned off from the holiday camp. I came back home to Stoke, and I got a phone call from an old DJ friend of mine who said, "Would you like to come and do these nightclubs?" And I say plural, nightclubs. And I was like, well, yeah, okay. The brand would become a massive part of my life through the early part of the noughties. I was working for this brand when I met Ian at Radio Pulse in Redditch, and I ended up doing 7 nights a week in 2000 up until 2008 or 2009. And the brand then promoted me to area manager DJ as well. The brand was Chicago Rock Cafe.
I mean, you were enjoying life at that stage.
Yeah, you know, and then...
Is this why you've got 15 marriages? And 72 children?
So, also, number 1...
No, hang on. So you were at Chicago Rock Cafe, and it was the year 2000. Superstar DJs.
Yeah.
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 And so,
well, we weren't DJs at Chicago Rock Cafe. We were video jocks. If you remember, in the early days of Chicago's, we used to play comedy sketches on video. And,
you did, yeah.
And we did video music jockeying because it was all visual, wasn't it? And every set that we did, we do like an 80s set, and all the videos will be mixed in together. Yeah, it was quite a skill.
Are they still
to be
going? Chicago Rock?
They are, but they've changed the name to Chicago's, and they've just gone very up to date. So it's no longer comedy sketches. It's not a video show anymore. It's just bog standard DJ jockeying.
Because when I met you, you were working in Redditch Chicago Rock, which is now used to be the old cinema.
Yeah,
used to be the old ABC cinema, and is now a Wetherspoons, Damien.
It is.
Yeah, it's Lloyd's now.
Lloyd's.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. I must have met you before because Ian knows back in the day I used to be the shirt and the waistcoat.
Yellow shirt. The yellow shirts did you wear?
I did wear yellow shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. My ex-wife was the assistant manager of the Chicago Rock Cafe in Redditch.
Yeah, she probably met Damien quite closely.
I think I know who you mean.
I will say again, we need a late night podcast. We can do it as a podcast only if you don't want it to be live on Facebook.
Let's just say, Darren, we've always shared a lot in our life. So, anyway, number 1, sir. What is number 1?
Number 1 for the year 2000. The year 2000 was the days when I really went into radio in a heavy way. So before this, late 90s, I was fiddling about with radio, doing stuff at my local radio station, covering overnights and whatever. In the year 2000, I got a call from a friend of mine by the name of James Blonde, that is a dance DJ that worked at the old BRMB at the time, which was over the Radio Caf in Birmingham. And he put me in touch with the manager or the station manager at BRMB. And I was covering bits and bobs at BRMB at the time. And it was the biggest station I'd ever worked on, in my opinion, because it sounded slick, it sounded hot, it sounded great. Now, this is the days when radio DJs were classed as celebrities. So you get hired to do a club. So this is in Birmingham City Centre in the autumn of 2000, just before the big, New Year's Eve gig on 2000. And then these cars, branded cars with BRMB, hit music station written all over it, the sponsor written all over it. You get driven to a nightclub. You get dropped off at the nightclub. You would walk with bodyguards into the club, do an hour set for a ridiculous amount of money, take some photographs, and leave again. It just felt like a pop star. making it like a PA appearance in these bars and clubs.
I've got to say, and I tip my hat to you, because back in the day, it was Carlos, who was fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing now, if he's still a thing or he's still around, bless him.
Yeah, he is.
He was amazing. You had Les Ross in the morning. You had Tammy Goodin. You had Jezza. So it was an amazing station. I've got to say, Darren, you get a lot of stick on this show, but do you know what, mate? Fair play to you, because that is an amazing station to work at. And I tip my hat to you, buddy, because that was awesome.
I've said this on the podcast I did with Ian. I never had my own show on there. I always covered.
Doesn't matter. You were there, buddy. You did it. You can say you did it. It
was a great time to be a commercial radio DJ and a DJ in a bar.
I was on the Disney Channel. Doesn't matter if I was there for a week, 2 weeks, I was still on there. And I always said when I was little, and we always had these things that we really want to do, I always said I wanted to be a kids presenter. And however long it was, I did it. Do you know what I mean? You've been on commercial radio station. Ian, you've been a presenter. We've all done these things that we wanted to do, and never talk it down, buddy. I know you get a lot of stick and you look like a human potato, but fair play to you, bud. I think that was a really good memory. I've got to say, I'm going to throw it out here, but I actually think that was one of my favourite top fives you've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would agree. And
I really enjoyed that, actually. I actually
think BRMB was the biggest station in the in the Midlands, actually.
Huge.
It was massive. Yeah. It was a brilliant radio station. It's completely not there anymore, but it completely went downhill when the radio.
But when I was there, they had this new initiative. They'd moved from the HP building, like an old-fashioned tower block kind of thing, in Ashton, and then they'd gone over to Broad Street. And they had a studio above what they classed as the radio cafe. So Scott Hughes, who used to do the evening show, used to do his show from inside the radio cafe by the bar of the people that were in having meals and whatnot and drinks.
See, it was, and going off this, I would, if you're interested in this, I would highly recommend that you go and listen to Darren's podcast that we did when we did the interview podcasts. Because it goes proper geeky on radio.
It does. I listened to it on the way to one of my offices, and it was. Do you know what and that's what I liked about that. And like I said, he gets a lot of stick on this show, but I think what was good about that is we saw a different layer to Darren, and I think that was one of your best top fives. I enjoyed that. Went on a journey with you, mate. So bravo, sir. I salute you.
And if you haven't listened to the interview podcast, we have 12 episodes of the interview podcast, which is what I started doing when I first started doing this. And we have 12 episodes of in-depth interviews, about just over an hour of each, from people like Joe Lycett, Darren, Damien's been on there, Darren Winter's been on there, Paul has been on there. We've had Richard Hadfield, Lucas McFarlane, photographers. They're just in-depth conversations, and if you haven't listened to them, please do go back and listen to them, because they are really interesting stuff.
You went really deep with me, didn't you?
I did. I like going deep with people, and it was a really, it was a really good. No, it's good, and I'm hoping to do some more interview podcasts soon, coming up. So there you go. But yeah, really good top five, Darren. I like that a lot. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So, Damien. I believe it is time for the acting sensation that is the envelope opening.
So we have got it, and Barbara, thanks for joining me.
Is that a bigger envelope than last week's?
Where you been? Okay, yeah. And what did you catch? Minnows or tadpoles? Yeah. No, they don't turn into. No, you've done this before. Now, a tadpole turns into a frog. What do you mean? It doesn't turn into a butterfly. Well, what do you mean? So you've got tadpoles, yeah? Okay. Right. So you put some twigs and a bit of leaf. You put them in a glass container. So you think a tadpole is a butterfly. What else have you put in there? Cat poo. What's the matter with you? Why do we do this every week? I just want to just pass me the envelope. You haven't washed your hands and you passed me the envelope. So I've got cat poo on my hands. You filthy. Right. Sorry about that. Every week. Okay, so we've got an envelope.
Do you know, you drive home and you think of these, don't you, Damien?
I have no idea. So we've got an envelope this week to find out what next week's top 5 list is. And every week we do a top 5 in the second hour. And this week's top 5, or next week's, I should say. Barbara, you dirty git. You gave me your phone bill. I don't want to see that. Why has it got 089? Okay. We'll move on from that. Can you have that back? Okay, thanks. She's a dirty one, I tell you. Absolute minx. Right, okay, so next week's top 5 is the top 5 sporting moments of all time.
Oh.
The top 5 sporting moments of all time.
I can't do this one.
What do you mean?
I don't watch sport at all.
Yes,
Well,
but
you
must know of some sporting moments. I don't watch a lot of sport, and I can think of 3 off the top of my head. That would
The
be
top
in my
5 sporting moments of all time.
Okay. Oh no.
No, it's Darren. And right. No, we can't go in the glass container with your tadpoles. You just get out. Why are you here? I live with my wife and my children. Where do you live? Where do you sleep?
Between the walls. That's yeah. Okay, that's
there you go.
So this is our top 5 personal sport, not personal sporting moments. Jesus, that wouldn't be many for me. It's our top 5 what we think are the best sporting moments of all time.
Yeah, sporting moments of all time. So I'm interested to know, Darren. That doesn't include go-karting down the lane when me and Bobby Bear used to get on like a go-kart.
Are we including sports entertainment?
Maybe, yeah.
Right, okay, so I've got 4 already. That's fine. Good.
So there you go. And we've had some classics. I would say if you want to go and have a listen to some of the other episodes we've had, top 5 films, top 5 TV programs. We've had top 5 80s movies. There's been a lot. And obviously we're coming up to some certain events. So I'm sure some of these will be themed. So there you go. Yeah, next week, the top 5 sporting moments of said presenters here, which would be great.
I'm thinking already. Right, okay.
There you go. Good.
Yes, we like. Right. Thank you very much for that, Damien. Thank you for the acting performance. I'm sure the Emmys will be calling next year.
No idea what you mean. She's here. At the moment, she's got her feet in my sink. She's just, she's got corns. Terrible.
It's not nice at all. Right. Do you want to do the outro, gentlemen?
Let's do it because I need to go to the toilet, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. Right, okay, let's do this nice and quickly then. And that is it for this week's episode of the As Yet Unnamed Podcast. I have to say, a really interesting top 5. I wasn't quite sure where it was going to go, but I thought it was a really interesting top 5. I quite like that one. Next week's will be interesting as well. If I can ask you to please come with some news stories for next week, that would be very useful. And if Barbara wants to pick out some new audio clips for us to play around with as well, that would also be useful. Ones that are actually funny, Darren. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Damien.
Yeah, thank you. As ever, this is the live version of the podcast that goes out on a Monday.
No. It's not the live version. It's just the podcast out, not the live version.
You know what? I'm going to punch him in the face tonight. He's getting right on my wick with his little brown T-shirt and his little hair. He's got about two hairs coming out of that chest.
I'm not going to show you, Damien. That is not an answer for me to show you my chest.
Look at me little ginger little hair.
Darren, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, I'm not looking forward to next week's top 5.
It'll be fine. It'll be all good. If you are listening to the podcast, don't forget to click on subscribe, comment, like, and share the podcast as well. Same for YouTube. You can join us every Wednesday evening from 8 o'clock on Facebook. Yes, Damien?
I'm just going to say as well, it's funny times at the moment out there. Stay safe, wear a mask, follow the guidelines. We want to get out of this. We're fed up of it. We hate it. Be nice to each other. Be kind. It's a horrible world sometimes, and all it takes is just to be a bit kind. And remember, sometimes words can hurt as well, especially on social media. So just be careful what you put in, be careful what you're posting, careful what you're saying. Be kind and be nice.
Very well put. So thank you very much for listening. We'll be back again next Monday morning from 6 a.m. on your podcast feed. Get in contact with us on the website, the As Yet Unnamed Podcast.uk, and follow us on Twitter at As Yet Unnamed Pod. And you can also find us on Facebook, the As Yet Unnamed Podcast. Until next week, look after yourself, stay safe. Hopefully it will all get better, and we will speak to you very, very soon. Bye for now. Perfect way to end this podcast. Goodbye, everybody. Keep waving. Bit more. Keep waving.
Feel like
You're
I'm
such a
raving.
miserable. Honestly,
Little
do you
bit
know
more.
what? Next week, wear something.
This is the As Yet Unnamed Podcast with Ian Barstow, Damian Lee, and Darren Antrobus.